Dave, this is an episode that my computer was trying to stop. It just didn't want us to record. Now I'm looking at new computers, which means this computer will die halfway through recording. I'm jealous. Yeah.
Into the void. All right, so we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that posts every Thursday at 6 a.m. Eastern Time on podcast services. You can also check our website at digitaldaysgaming.com. We live stream on Twitch and YouTube at the same time. Twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming, youtube.com/digitaldaysgaming. We have a Discord and Facebook group linked in the show notes, and our social media stuff is in the show notes as well. We did take last week off. I did see a couple comments that said, enjoy your holiday. I'm a month behind. So we'll see if anybody caught up maybe with their traveling to and from family, and as it was Thanksgiving last week in the States. And we'll kind of just go from there. A little bit of lighter show this week just because it's Tuesday, November 28th. So if any of the gaming companies did come back from Thanksgiving break, it's only been like 24 hours.
Yeah,
so,
and they're prepping for
total,
Game Awards next week.
Yeah, so
it's going to be light. And then next week, me and Dave will have to debate whether we record on our usual Tuesday, Wednesday, or if we have to wait for the Game Awards. We'll see how we feel, because usually Keeley comes out a couple days before the Game Awards to tell people, like, this ain't it. This is not the year to get excited.
Right. I think some of that's going to be dependent on if anything comes out leading up to the Game Awards, like the next couple of days. Like if news is really, really dry because of Game Awards, I think we might have to wait in general.
Yeah.
So,
though Xbox did say that they will be there this year. After missing last year. What they'll have, I have no idea. It better not just be Starfield DLC. They need something bigger than that, but that's the place to do it.
Yeah. All right, like I mentioned, there's a bunch of stuff linked in the show notes. If you're watching us on Twitch, you can subscribe to us if you choose, whether you want to do a paid subscription or link it with your Amazon account and get Twitch Prime or Prime Gaming, as well as subscribing on YouTube with is free. You can turn notifications on that way if you would prefer to watch us on YouTube. So any kind of growth from there is always helpful. Sharing the show, leaving a review on the podcast services also helps the show grow as we get ready to go into 2024. And we're going to throw it into some news.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of a PlayStation-centric. I guess technically the only three stories, or actually 4 stories, are all PlayStation adjacent or directly related to PlayStation. The first one being PlayStation announced today a partnership with NCSoft. So PlayStation NCSoft announced that they will join, do a little partnership, a little cross company sort of thing, and basically they're going to collaborate in various global business fields, including mobile. Jim Ryan released the statement along with the NCSoft president. For those wondering, Jim Ryan is still technically the president of SIE until sometime early next year, or at least through the end of the year. And they basically just talked about how both companies are kind of meant to work with each other, and we'll get something from this. For those unfamiliar, NCSoft is a South Korean company known for their MMO RPGs on PC and mobile, including Guild Wars, early Guild Wars, and then Lineage. And this is interesting because last year, Dave, I'm not too sure if you remember, but there was like some leaks of a Horizon MMO that were kind of some screenshots, some like gameplay popped up, and it almost looked like a Monster Hunter like experience for Horizon. The company that was rumored to be working on that was NCSoft, but PlayStation and NCSoft denied it at the time because they weren't ready to show anything. A year later, now we have a partnership between PlayStation and NCSoft, an MMO RPG company.
Do you think that this is going to be a console and mobile game?
I think so. I think at this point, if you're PlayStation, you definitely want mobile, but you can't go mobile exclusive for anything anymore.
Agreed.
Especially like Genshin Impact shows that you can do both without having like a drop in quality. Like and Fortnite shows it too. Like I don't think anyone's really complaining about like crossplay between like mobile players and console players.
I agree. I feel like the mobile market always wants to get into the console market, and they can. I feel like the console market wants to get into the mobile market, and they struggle.
Yeah.
And then my other question for you is this going to be free to play?
If it's going to hit mobile as well, I think it has to be free to play.
Agreed.
If say this isn't a mobile project, this is just PC and console, then it probably won't be free to play. But I don't really see them doing a monthly subscription.
Right.
But I could see them asking for an upfront cost because we're just assuming MMO based off like the track record, so it could just be a multiplayer sort of experience. And I would assume this would count under Jim Ryan's 12 now 6 service games, which Horizon should lend itself pretty well to an MMO if that's what they're working on, or just an online experience.
Yeah, for sure. But I also feel like if it is true, and if this was as far along as we were led to believe, like I think with this announcement they would have announced the game.
Yeah, it might be too early for them to announce like a full game. They're at least trickling that in. I almost feel like this is the announcement before the announcement in terms of like, hey, Game Awards are coming up. Maybe that's where you could do a teaser. You get this announcement out of the way so PlayStation fans can like familiarize with NCSoft, because it's not really a household name unless you're like really into like mobile games or like, you know, MMO games. Especially like NCSoft's not really like top tier mobile games, but they're successful in the mobile or not mobile games, but in the MMO RPG realm. Because when it comes to MMOs, you kind of just think, you know, Final Fantasy and WoW. But NCSoft has been doing MMOs for quite some time. So this could just be like that announcement you do just so if they do make an announcement at the Game Awards or 2 months down the line, people aren't like, who the fuck are NCSoft? Like the PlayStation people will be able to familiarize with what to expect from this partnership.
Absolutely. So.
And it also could just be like, hey, we're not actually having them develop the game, but they're going to help us with back-end stuff for something that one of our other studios is working on.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So there's many different ways that this can lead to. It sounds premature to say, but like, do you see an MMO like taking off for PlayStation?
No.
Okay, that's how I feel. I just don't quite see it.
Because like I feel like they want, I don't know if this is successful or not, but they want, you know, I know Fortnite's successful and Genshin's successful, but or the Sony board wants like Raid Shadow Legend level of player base, like.
But they probably would in terms of like everyone knows that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really hard to tell, and I don't know if. I hate to say this, like, you know, because I know that they're dominating the console market, and they've dominated the console market the last 2 generations. But do you think that the Horizon brand carries enough weight to establish themselves on a mobile platform?
I feel like they've done a really good job of getting Alloy up in front in people's faces in terms of just like how many times you're just watching a random convention video and you see cosplayers for her, you see her all over the advertising and stuff like that. Like, I feel like that character is kind of broken through into mainstream. They might not know Horizon by the title because it's a generic title. I can name like 5 games with Horizon in the title, but I feel like they have like enough of like an iconic look, or at least building up to being something iconic, that they might feel confident enough. Now, will that translate of like, hey, we spent like the last like 7 years building up this one character, now play a game where you don't play as that character, you make your own character. I don't know if that's going to translate well, but I think there's something there for Horizon, like mass market possibilities. I mean, Horizon basically launched the PSVR 2. Like, they were confident enough that that alone would be something that could sell like that headset.
Yeah, for sure.
So they definitely believe in that franchise. Will it translate to like, hey, pick up this phone game because it's Horizon? I don't know. That's hard to tell.
Right.
But we'll move on to the next story. The Last of Us Part 2 remaster has been revealed. And Dave, I gotta say, I'm kind of excited. This is like the way to actually do a remaster. But so this thing is going to be PS5 exclusive, coming out January 19th, 2024. It's going to have all the things you want in terms of like unlocked frame rate options for TVs that support VRR, 4K output, 1440p, increased textures, all that level of detail that you want from a remaster. But the things that I'm interested in are the director commentary. I don't know if I'd play 30 hours of director's commentary, but I might be interested if they break it down cutscene to cutscene and like just like a player. The deleted scenes. So they're going to have 3 playable deleted levels, I believe is what the website says. In the announcement, they just say playable levels, playable deleted levels. But on the when you dig into the PlayStation website, it says 3 specifically. And then also this roguelite mode called, I put that in the notes, No Return, which is going to be like players going through scenarios. You'll be able to pick a different character, even some characters that haven't been playable before, so it's not just going to be, Joe, Ellie, Abby. And it's going to be basically like running scores, and it's going to have a global leaderboard and a couple different levels that you can run through. So I like that move. I almost feel like this is them just being like, the multiplayer's not ready, what can we throw together? It kind of has that vibe, but I really like the gameplay in The Last of Us Part 2, so being able to like at least use that gameplay to compete, even though it is single player, but through leaderboards, if these scenarios are like really fun and worth replaying over and over again, they might have something really cool here.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're handling the upgrade correctly as well. It's a $10 upgrade if you own it on PS4. So I think that's a really good kudos to them, and it kind of leads me to believe that this is, similar to what you just said, though, like this is maybe something that they had a bigger plan for, to maybe release its own copy of it, like maybe even at the holiday of next year, but with the factions, either delayed or, development hell, or even, God forbid, cancellation. I think that Naughty Dog had to put something out.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they had to put something out, just because it'll calm people down for a little bit, depending on how long this no return mode goes for them. But if it's successful, I could see Naughty Dog being like, "Hey, we'll like
add more scenarios."
Yeah, we'll add more random things. I don't know if they'll go as far as like, "Hey, here's some Uncharted characters you can play as," but they could at least add like significantly more levels to this over time. And that might be more telling on how that Factions is going, if they just end up supporting No Return a little bit longer.
But this definitely feels like break glass in case of emergency. Like it's something that's been that they've had, and they're like, okay, well, again, like probably the plan for this was whenever they were holding it for season 2 of the show.
Something, yeah.
Yeah. And then somebody is like, okay, well, no, if you have it and it's almost done, like, and this thing is struggling, like, let's get it printed.
Yeah, this kind of feels like one of those things where it's just like, and I know I'm over exaggerating. I know it's not that easy, but this almost feels like a couple months ago when they're like, hey, Factions, it's not being put together. We're gonna put it on ice, and then someone is just like, but I think Dave was dicking around with something, and it looked kind of fun.
Is that roguelite thing really going to work?
Yeah.
Like, does it work? Okay, can we expand upon it? Okay, cool.
Yeah, like how many bodies do you need for your team to give us like 6 maps that we can do this?
And this announcement is about 2 months after we heard about the formal announcement of them saying that we're trying to make the best multiplayer experience we can for you. About 2 to 3 months since we heard that it's them essentially saying it's really not as far along as people thought it was. So I feel like this is, to your point, this could be like, okay, like, hey, we just released a statement. We got to get this next thing, this PR feel good tap on the back thing going. Like, got to have it ready, because then the counter to it is like, this was announced like, I think about a week ago. So like, I know we took the week off. So like, let's say around the 20th,
something like that.
And it's coming out like January 19th. So like, this is like a 90-day window. Like,
yeah, I would almost imagine like
60-day window. I'm sorry.
I would imagine like this also could have been part of Factions, because when Overwatch was gonna have some like PvE stuff along with their PvP, but they ended up canceling that. This seems like a small enough mode that it's just like, hey, we want people to jump into factions, but not everyone might want to play PvP. So this is like a scenario.
Are you talking about the roguelite was a mode?
Yes, for
Okay,
factions, just to bring more people in. Of just like, hey, we have this cool thing with leaderboards. If you're not really interested in doing competitive stuff.
Well, we had always talked about bundling something like this with factions to get both players.
Yeah,
like, to
no,
get them to
that's
buy,
what I'm saying. Yeah,
to buy faction. Well, not even roguelite, but just like the PS5 version of Last of Us 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I had said like, okay, you release this with factions as a bundle for like $100, and then somebody's like, well, I paid $100, but I got a really cool version of Last of Us Part 2, and their multiplayer thing is okay. Or the other person's like, their multiplayer is great, and I didn't get to play the second game, so I have them both.
Yeah, and then eventually you would break the multiplayer away from it. I believe they did that for Uncharted. At a certain point, you could just buy Uncharted 4 or just get into the multiplayer. So I think there's like multiple things where the no return stuff could have fit in, and it could have worked out really well for them. But this looks fun. Like, again, this is the idea of going in through the scenarios. Just in some of the stuff that they showed, like the screenshot. Like, I'm pretty sure that's Liv with a shotgun going through Jackson right now as zombies break in. So I like this sort of thing. And if they can, I know it's probably too late, but like I would hope that they would be able to like get some story stuff in there. If it's just like, hey, this is you're clearing Jackson, so it could be turned into a town, sort of thing would be nice. Just give a little bit of story.
Now these deleted scenes, like, do you think one is there, like, obviously like doing a different part of the country or like whatever your path was, whether it was for whoever you were playing as, do you think that these are going to be like fully dialogued out with like voice lines and possible like cutscenes of like of stuff that was taken out of, or do you think this is just going to be, here's a scenario, play it? Obviously there has to be some commentary to explain what's going on.
There's going to be some commentary for sure, I believe they said.
Like I don't mean commentary, I mean like voice lines between characters and stuff.
I would actually love, I don't know if people would like this, but have you ever seen like deleted scenes for like animated movies, and the deleted scenes are like just the sketch storyboard stuff with stuff? I wouldn't,
like not 100% done.
I wouldn't,
like no polish, no polish.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if we got some of that, of just like there's voice acting, because that's something they probably were able to do. And then just the cutscene is just some storyboard animations, and then here's the playable scene. Yeah, because we don't really get games doing like deleted scenes or anything like that. Yeah. So I want to see.
Well, it's like, is it a deleted level that leads up to a cutscene? Is it a cutscene that then leads to a level? Is it a cutscene that's taking place during the level? What does it mean? There's a lot to unpack there. Yeah.
Is it just going to be just random stuff of just like, oh, I see where this fits in. It doesn't have a cutscene. It's just like an extra alleyway that you can go down, like when you're in a suburban level. I want to say, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. But I think VGC is the one that like dug in to find out how many levels are for they're calling the lost levels. So what they're saying is the sewers, Jackson Party, and Boar Hunt. So sewers is just like, there's plenty of times you were down in the sewer, so again it could just be like, hey, there is like a little section you could have gone into before the cutscene. Here's that section before the cutscene. The Boar Hunt, I mean, there was definitely hunting in the beginning, I feel like, when you were kind of doing your rounds, so that could be easily playable. Jackson Party just sounds like that could just be an extended cutscene. Yeah. But it's supposed to be playable, so maybe we were allowed to walk around during that party as opposed to just watching the party. Right. So that could be interesting to see how that scene works, because the Jackson Party scene is such a good section of the game, just cutscene wise, story wise. So I wonder if there was some playable elements in that just that took away from that they're going to try and squeeze in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I feel like this is a way to do a remaster as opposed to some of the other remasters that we've seen, even from PlayStation themselves for the part one. The next
seems like it's gonna be cool.
Yeah. So. The next one is the Knights of the Old Republic remake is still alive? ? So there's 2 stories floating around. Jeff Grubb from Giant Bomb said the game is dead. Currently, no one is working on it. And then Jason Schreier said that he has close sources that say they are still working on it. For those that need a reminder, Knights of the Old Republic was announced at a PlayStation showcase as...
I feel like that's right.
Yeah, as a, coming... I don't know if they put a year on it, but it was a PS5 exclusive game coming from Lucasfilm, Aspyr, and Sony Interactive Entertainment. A lot of people were super excited about it, but last year it came out that PlayStation wasn't happy with Aspyr's work on it, which led to Embracer Group pulling the game from Aspyr and giving it to Saber Interactive, and then there were further reports saying that PlayStation basically pulled their funding entirely from the project, kind of leaving it in limbo. The CEO of Embracer was asked about it recently in the middle of him firing several people from various studios and threatening to close down studios. Basically said he can't make a comment on it, which led to, Schreier and Grubbs reporting that this game is either dead or it's just not being worked on heavily. Doesn't sound good. Schreier's stuff did say hey, people are still working on it, but then I believe he clarified in a forum post being that doesn't mean the game's going to come out. It just means people might still be kind of working on it. So it this sounds like it is true development hell, where PlayStation doesn't want to talk about it anymore, Embracer doesn't want to talk about it anymore, and you have people potentially at Saber Interactive being we still might be working on this, but we can't say for sure. Dave, you hate when games get announced without a plan or anything. This definitely seems like one of those ones that there was no game when the announcement was made. There was barely a deal, which seemed to be something Lucasfilms was doing a little bit, with the Quantic Dream Star Wars game that we haven't heard about in several years now. Do you think this is coming out at this point?
I do. I would, it might be a little while. I believe Jason Schreier more than I do Jeff Grubb.
Mm-hmm.
So this might be, similar to the, what we just talked about with The Last of Us Part 2. Maybe it's, it should be coming out, or I think we might see some platform gaps in platform releases. That maybe they're trying to release this on the Switch and they can't. So it might become a time where okay, we'll get it out and let's see if we can get some revenue coming in, and then we can start getting it working on this other stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are pretty disappointed about the state of this game right now. So I don't, without them coming out and formally saying that they're not, until they come out and formally say that they're not working on it, I mean, you got to believe it's still coming. So
yeah, I would say though, the only thing that I would say is kind of against the possibility they're still working on this is when the CEO is I don't have a comment. It wouldn't take too much effort for them to be yeah, we're still working on it, for them to just outright deny that, or for them to be no, can't say anything one way or the other. Is kind of suspicious. But that also could be, them trying to save the partnership with PlayStation, and PlayStation's do not talk about this game until we have something to show, if you want us to still fund this. But it is still kind of crazy that, if you remember those reports last year, it was PlayStation was not happy with it, asked for there to be change. They ended up firing a director, and then it ended up getting pulled from the studio entirely. It just kind of shows the chaos that is Embracer Group and everything that they are trying to do. I was going to put it in the news story, but Embracer confirmed that a studio might be closed before Christmas. There was also a couple layoffs at some other studios that they own, and then this is coming out, which honestly, if I'm still technically on the team that's supposed to be working on this, I would probably tell Schreier too, we're still working on this, hoping that could potentially save the studio. like if there's knowledge that like the game's still being worked on, maybe Embracer will be less likely to want to shut them down or do layoffs, because that would just bring questions about the project back to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, hopefully they, because I know a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people wanted this game, and a lot of people were really excited about this game. So,
yep, and man, at this point, like watch it, it does end up becoming one of those like, hey, it's on Switch, it's on mobile, and it just looks like shit.
Like it did when it came out the first
Yeah,
time.
yeah, and people are like, oh, we thought we were getting a full remake, and it's like we were until PlayStation pulled their funding. Yeah. And now here's the game again with slightly higher res graphics. But Dave, that's all I have for news, though what's delayed is newsworthy.
So yesterday, the 27th of November, Bungie and Destiny officially came out and said that the final shape has been delayed until June 4th. So this does line up with Jason Schreier's report, hence one of the reasons why I keep saying I believe Schreier over Grubb. Schreier's track record is pretty damn good. A lot of speculation is why they waited so long to talk about the delay. They even released like a teaser trailer last week for this season that launched today, the 28th. And in that teaser trailer, it had the final shape with the date of February 24th or whatever, 28th. And ever since the report, like Bungie confirmed the layoffs, but never confirmed the delay. But ultimately, if I had to really guess, the delay had to have been confirmed yesterday, because when the new season launches today, that season has a countdown timer in it of when the season ends, and this season 23 or 4 is going to be another 6-month season. They did talk about, actually, like in February and March, they kind of came out and said, here's our content plan. We understand that, this season is called Season of the Wish, and their storylines typically run 6 to 8 weeks. That way you give a little bit of catch-up time, in a 12-week season, which is normal. And they did say that cadence is going to stay intact, and that here they have a very basic plan of what they're going to do to fill the gap in. They are doing something called Destiny Into the Light, which is going to come out in like April, I believe they said, and it sounds like they're saying that they're going to be able to do something that's going to be fun for veteran players, but also intriguing for new players. They did say everything that's coming out like post February is going to be available to all players, so they're not charging for it as part of the free to play package. And I just believe that's truly they're going to work on the onboarding for the free to play player. All of this is going to be to entice people to buy Final Shape. Mm-hmm. So everything they're going to be doing post Super Bowl Valentine's Day is probably going to be to entice people to buy Final Shape. But yeah, I guess it's I'm disappointed, because I thought maybe since they didn't confirm it as soon as it was all leaked, that maybe it wasn't happening. But it's fine. I think I put in Discord like Suicide Squad, please be good.
Yeah. I mean, if you're Rocksteady, you're like, hell yeah. Even though Destiny 2's like player base is dwindling, it's like they were expecting to play
That's the player they're kind of going after, though, too. Like that is that type of player they're going after.
It's like all those people ready to return in February now have free time for something else.
Even if you get a 4-month jump out of them, like that's great, and get them talking about it, get people, like even if something is I know it sounds terrible to say this, but even if something is primarily a Destiny 2 streamer that decides to stream this for 2 or 3 weeks, that's exposure you probably wouldn't have gotten.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad, I mean, so, that's it. I already think that, to your point, I'm coming around to it as I'm watching some of the data and things like that. I'm already thinking that Final Shape probably will struggle. Mm-hmm. There's a part of me that thinks that it might be a slow burn, and what I mean by that is people will probably start talking about it in July and August as like, hey, this is, if you play Destiny at all, like this is a great time to jump back in, because it's a completion of whatever this chapter is in terms of like, just check it out. It's like, it's the last thing.
Yeah. I
like
just don't know if they can afford a slow burn.
Right. No, I know, but what I mean by a slow burn, like like we've talked about like Elden Ring being a long burn.
Yeah.
But like you're not gonna see. I don't think you're gonna see this huge spike. You'll see something the first like 5 days it's out, because whoever's been playing is gonna play it. After that, after people complete the campaign, what it is, but then it might be one of those things where like, hey, like a month later, like, hey, like okay, that's actually solid. Like go back and finish it. Like, but we'll have to see. Like I don't know, and I don't know if they're without doing a Destiny 3 at this point, or without doing, however they're gonna allegedly kick off this new, like how these episodes that they're bringing out are gonna kick off this whatever plan they have for expanded content. Because I don't think that, like, we're getting after Final Shape, we're gonna get any more named expansions. We're gonna get these named episodes or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think you're getting $40 or $50 content expansions for Destiny 2 anymore after Final Shape.
No, that's the thing I talked about with you last time, of just like, I expect if expansions happen, they're not going to be as frequent as they are now. It's going to be smaller packs or whatever.
They're setting themselves up for a win or go home situation, though. Like the way that they're talking about Final Shape, putting it up against Taken King and Witch Queen. They're gonna hit a home run, or they're gonna just pound themselves into the dirt. There's gonna be no in between.
Honestly, it sounds bad, but I feel like if you're PlayStation, as the new owners of Bungie, you're kind of hoping it's a miss, just so you can pull them off, because they're such a talented studio, and be like, create something else. Like, let's do something from the ground up.
Yeah, but then are you ready for them post marathon to go dormant for 4 or 5 years?
Honestly,
like that's what it would take for them to create something
but
new,
it like that weight might be more financially, like,
right.
Yeah,
no, 100%.
It's a bigger payoff than let's get Destiny steady again.
Because I'd have to do some more personal research, and I can't answer this, but I don't know if Marathon is on Bungie's Tiger engine.
Yeah,
but the Tiger engine is something that Bungie's been using since the Halo days. They publicly talked about the Tiger engine and some of the challenges it's given them with Destiny 2 as the game has evolved and consoles have evolved. But if to your point, if they're going to do something new as a talented studio, that also means a new engine. Now that could be Unreal Engine 5 or whatever. They could just or they could get, to your point, like we talked about, they could, like the Horizon engine for whatever they're doing. Like now that they're owned, they're in partnership / owned by Sony, they definitely have more access to stuff that they didn't have prior. So that will be very interesting to see how that plays out. But a lot of it comes down to that engine. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up, but it sucks because it's such an old game. Like when I look up Marathon, I get the original Marathon and not the new Marathon. Because it could be one of those things where they tell,
it's a 20-year-old engine.
Yeah, they tell Bungie of just like, hey, you know what? Like, we can try righting the ship. I think Bungie has too much pride to like let Destiny die, but PlayStation would be like, listen, you're gonna put the smallest amount of people on Destiny. You can keep it going for as long as you want, but we need something bigger. We need something fresh, because there's only.
Unless that third game is that bigger, fresher thing.
Yeah.
Obviously. But then to your point, they still have to, you go from a one game studio that's out in the world to a potentially 3 games in the world at the same time. Like, that's.
But depending on you can get Destiny to a point where it's just like, hey, we're just gonna rotate vault stuff, and that kind of runs itself. I know it doesn't, but PlayStation's big enough that like they can hand it to like one of their auxiliary studios and just like, yeah, just keep it going. People want to play Witch Queen stuff. Let's just let them get some of this content again.
No, I got you.
And then it just becomes like a nostalgic thing, just like, oh, hey, they're doing a retro event for Destiny, and people pop on for a little bit. But it's one of those things where I would imagine PlayStation is at a certain point, like, they look at Bungie as like this very like attractive thing that has like a flaw, that they're just like, they're a 10, but they like this this old ass game, and they're just looking for them to like hope Marathon's a hit. But if Marathon's not a hit, I don't think that's the end of the world for Bungie either, because of how much money was put into it. But like we said before, I think that's when they just ask Bungie, like, put your head down and just focus on something else. Give us the next Halo. Give us the next Destiny. Just don't name it Halo. Don't name it Destiny.
Right. So, all right. That's it for news and delayed stuff. So what we're playing and watching, I think this will be a short list for both of us, just because holidays, a holiday. So for me, I did pick up Super Mario RPG. I have started it. Michael's got it in his hand too. He picked it up. I bought it digitally because Owen loses Switch cards. The quality of life changes they made in the game are so far early on are phenomenal. I'm like 2 or 3 hours in. Are great. Just the way that I feel like at least of parts that I remember, the way the text functions and the tutorial missions and how things look, it just seems like it's better. It's definitely some good quality of life adjustments. I think it's very interesting. I feel like this game was originally called like Super Mario RPG: The Legend of the Seven Stars or something,
Mm-hmm.
and they've completely dropped that part of the name. And
Oh,
you can
yeah,
tell
yeah.
like in the intro, like there's supposed to be this like piece of text like on the screen that's not there. It just looks kind of weird. When the sword like goes into Bowser's castle, like, and it says like Super Mario on the left of the sword and RPG on the right side of the sword, and then there's supposed to be this tagline across the bottom, and it's not there. So like that's that's super super interesting. I had forgotten that Square Enix did this, and I don't know if Square Enix worked on the remake
They
at all,
didn't.
but
Like they
this
kept
is,
the
yeah.
people that made it like super secret. But yeah.
Yeah. But I just I'm loving it. I'm having some nostalgic feeling for it, and I'm having fun with it, and it looks really good. It just looks good.
I'm looking forward to it, but man, my copy's so nice and sealed looking. I'm just like, oh, it's so beautiful. Like I've never seen like a shrink wrap this nice, and I'm just like, damn, it's a shame I gotta open that.
I really hope that they and I don't know, obviously it's not Square Enix, but I hope that this is like a sign of like possibly like a sequel to this game, just because they introduced some really cool characters in this game that they've done nothing with since at all.
Yeah, you would hope that like whatever studio worked on this, because again they've been keeping it like pretty tight lipped. I think they did finally reveal the studio that worked on it, but it's just like you got the engine, you got the experience now. Like how long would it take to pump out another RPG? Somehow.
I don't change any of the mechanics. Just tell a different story, and like dive into the Malo and the Geno characters farther that don't exist in the Mario universe at all.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you got a cinematic universe. You need more characters. This is the best way to get the new characters into that universe.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so we went to Cincinnati over the weekend, over Thanksgiving weekend. Like I worked on Friday, we went to Cincinnati Friday night, came and did Saturday. We watched the Michigan-Ohio State game in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's the first time. And this might surprise you, Michael. That's the first time that I've watched a game start to finish, like in a restaurant or a bar.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, and the bill was expensive, but it wasn't awful for like 6 people that went. We were with Jonathan and his wife. My daughter was there. Owen was there. Angela was there. Obviously, it was Angela's birthday. It was on Sunday. Jonathan's birthday was on Thanksgiving, the 24th and the 26th. Yeah, 23rd and 26th. Sorry, 23rd is Jonathan's, 26th is Angela. So we did that, and that kind of between that and working, that pretty much took up my entire week. We did go to like this Holiday Lights Fest at Kings Island, which is a Cedar Point corporate park. So we had our passes that went to that. I was a little disappointed in that just because I didn't really know what to expect. But the lighting and the Christmas lighting or the holiday lighting that they put up looked really cool and awesome, but there wasn't a lot of stuff open, and because it wasn't like super warm, it was like 40, but also the first time going to a theme park when it's dark is a challenge in itself.
It depends. Yeah, some parks are really bad at lighting. But some parks
trying to orientate yourself and trying to figure out. And every ride that was open was like a 90-minute wait.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Owen's not really down with that. I think he ended up riding like 1 or 2 things that wasn't too terribly long. But, so yeah, that was a little bit of a disappointment. But fortunately, with our pass, like we didn't like buy tickets to that. They kind of came with our pass.
Mm-hmm.
So. But yeah, that's pretty much that. And Thanksgiving, hanging out with the family on Thanksgiving Day, watching the Lions lose. Unfortunately, that's like 7 in a row on Thanksgiving, even though they're still having a great season. But yeah, that's pretty much been the week. I think I talked about this before, but I did play complete and platinum Spider-Man.
Yeah, I believe you talked about that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. We did a spoiler cast, so it's also kind of hard to tell.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
For me, it is buying games that I have no time to play. I added Gollum for $7 to my list. I added Super Mario RPG to my list. I bought like 3 other ones that should be in the mail soon. So just quite a...
What'd you buy?
Oh, God, I would have to look. I bought Killer Frequency physical for PS5, even though we got the Platinum for that. I just wanted a physical copy of it, and it was down to like $20 from $40.
Yeah.
I also picked up it was like 1 or 2 other things, nothing major. Video Games Plus was having a sale, so they had some PS3 games that were still new that were
cool.
there, so I picked those up. It was the Silent Hill HD collection, which I know is not like the best way to play those games, but I was like, new for $15. And then I bought a couple other games that were PS4 games that I had reviewed back in the day, and I kind of have it in my head of like I want to own copies of some of the games that I reviewed.
Nice, yeah, for sure.
So I picked up like Klaus and another game that I can't remember the name of. So just trying to like figure out how I want to collect things going forward. So I'm just like, okay, games I reviewed, I want physical copies for everything I reviewed, and then also just random PS3 stuff that I'm still trying to get.
We did pick Angela up. I didn't realize it. Like, I guess there's a Professor Layton game on the Switch that came out like in 2017.
Oh yeah.
That's like you play as his niece.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that existed. I saw it on the Switch digital sale or whatever. So we picked that up, and I think she's played that a little bit, but nothing crazy yet.
Yeah.
So.
And then the other thing, I did pick up Assassin's Creed Mirage. I think I had talked about it, but I hadn't played it just yet. But a little bit into Mirage, which we have a question about that. I'm at the point in the game where I appreciate that it is a smaller Assassin's Creed game. Something about it being in Baghdad just makes it feel just right, based on, like, I get a lot of Assassin's Creed 1 vibes. I know different locations, but just, like, settings that are similar enough that I appreciate that it's not this, like, gigantic, overblown game like they've been doing for, like, Valhalla and Odyssey. But I haven't been able to like really connect with the main character Basim at all, really. And I wonder if part of it is because I believe Basim pops up in Valhalla, and you're kind of playing his origin.
Okay.
That they cut out some stuff in terms of like, hey, this is why you should like this character because this is the second time this character's popped up. So it's not quite connecting with me. So I might be jumping to Armored Core. And then trying to get back into Assassin's Creed Mirage another time. Yeah. But it is exactly kind of what I wanted in terms of like giving me that throwback feeling. I don't feel the pressure that it's just like long overdrawn experience. You can even just tell when, you finally, the game opens up and you're, part of the Assassin's Creed guild. So I'm enjoying it from that perspective. It's just something about it's just not catching me enough that I want to like rush through it. I almost feel like this happens to me when I play like a game that I really loved. It's hard to find the follow-up game, and I'm coming off Spider-Man, trying to find that follow-up game is kind of difficult for me, but I'll probably give Mirage like a couple more hours, and then if it doesn't really hit, I'm either going to jump into Armored Core, or I might jump into Exo Primal, which a couple of my friends finally picked up on sale, so I might re-up to Game Pass.
That's where Mario RPG kind of fits in for me, like trying to get it in before, like if I can get through that and play through that and use that kind of as my buffer between Spider-Man and the next thing.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I picked it up too. Like Super Mario RPG is going to be like the break glass in case of emergency game where I'm just like, I just need to play something. Because I don't want to keep just playing puzzle games that I've been playing. Like when my brain is dead after work, I'm still playing Tetris and F-Zero. Those simple, quick multiplayer experiences. So just doing that. Watched a lot of wrestling this past weekend with Survivor Series, CM Punk returning, all that stuff. So if you followed me on Twitter, you'd probably see a lot of CM Punk retweets and reaction videos that I was enjoying during that time. But yeah, no. I did buy a few games during Black Friday, but I would say this is probably the worst fucking Black Friday for sales. Like the Target buy two
over the weekend itself, yes. Over the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Cyber Monday thing, yes. Yeah. But in terms of the second half of the month, or like the back half of the month of November, I feel like it's been in correlation with everything else. But there's just nothing that shows up on Twitter or like at a store that's like, oh crap, I gotta get it.
And that was the problem. There was like nothing. There was a lot of like, I guess that's cheap enough, but it wasn't like the, oh shit, someone fucked up, let me pick this game up. Or
and that's Black Friday as a whole across the retail board, I feel like right now.
Oh yeah, now I know people that still work retail, and they were like, yeah, no one was shopping, but at the same time, no one was shopping because the stores didn't really try. Like
Right.
most of the
It's all been it started like Monday or Sunday, and
but
like
even the
before.
deals that were like a week before still weren't what we're used to seeing in terms of deals. Like for TVs, like it was the same sale prices you get throughout the year, except they slapped the Black Friday label on it and hope people fell for it. So yeah, Black Friday this year just seemed kind of a bummer, and it's going to be funny because I know in like 2-3 weeks we're going to hear companies being like, yeah, no, our sales during Black Friday were terrible. We don't know why. And it's like, because you didn't do deals like you used to.
I think, I think the average consumer with the advent of the internet, like has become just smarter, more intelligent about what they're shopping and what they're really getting. Because, you know, years ago, I remember like even talking to you or talking to somebody else, like, oh, that TV's only like $200. And you're like, don't buy that TV.
Yeah.
Like, and that would be something they would sell thousands of units of at one store or whatever, just because people were buying like a $200 TV. But then the implementation of the streaming services and the 4Ks and the 10 higher end stuff, people are like, oh, I want it to look like this looks really good, and I want it to keep looking like that. I'm not going to buy this TV. It doesn't look good. I'm not even going to buy that TV for $200 to put in my son's room when I can get the one that's better to put in my kid's room for $200 more the week before Christmas. And then the loss of the paper ads.
Yeah.
Like you used to be like, get the paper on Thanksgiving and go through it and be like, oh, I got to go get this jacket or whatever. I got to go. None of that stuff is happening anymore. Like, and the commercials are losing their thing because people aren't really watching commercials because they're streaming.
Yeah. And I think we've also just seen like an improvement in quality in like lower end TVs and stuff to where like I have a TCL. It's a cheap TV. I think you have a TCL too.
Yeah, I think you and I have the same
TV.
Yeah.
And for how cheap it was, it's a quality TV. I've had mine for like 4 years. Like, there are better TVs, sure, but mine doesn't look terrible, so I'm still fine with it.
Right.
It wasn't like...
But then if you start looking into the TV that you would want to take advantage of your Series X, and your PS5 and your, like the high end 4K Blu-ray player, you really start digging into the true HDR and the high refresh rates, and it's like a $4,000 or $5,000 TV.
Yeah, and it's just like, is that upgrade really that worth it? I think the TV that I really want is like $1,200, but I'm still like, yeah, my TCL from 4 years ago that was like $300 is still chugging along. Yeah. Do I hope my cat knocks it down and breaks it so I have an excuse to buy a new one every day? But until that happens, I'm perfectly fine with the TV. Just like my PC that is dying before we record the podcast. I'm like, it still turns on, so I'm going to keep it. And I just hope it just finally just dies so I can buy a new one. But till then, I'll just keep dealing with it.
Yeah. So. All right, we're going to jump over to our questions. We got one question that was sent in to us using hashtag AskDigitalDays, and this is from Will Richardson, I believe. So, hey, lads, 200 episodes. Many congratulations. I've heard them all. Thank you. We appreciate that. His question is, with the controversy around AC Mirage and the new Call of Duty, both apparently meant to be DLC, do you think this damages the respective studios' credibility? Also, do you think Xbox will be happy, allowed it even to know about this, considering their takeover? So I think he's asking, do you think Xbox is happy that, like, right at the time that this takeover happened, like, Modern Warfare 3 comes out, and it's allegedly DLC, that they released as a full game? The main reason that people are thinking that the new Call of Duty is DLC is because it doesn't have a platinum trophy.
But
and it shows up in the trophy list under Modern Warfare 2, I believe.
Yes, but also it is just using the map from Warzone for the campaign. Yeah. So it's literally just...
I think this is a repercussion of the Activision's struggles, and part of the reason why Activision was purchased. I don't remember if this is Sledgehammer or Treyarch. I don't remember which one. I'm sorry. That was doing this, but I think that they did this in 18 months when they typically had 36 months.
Remember
to do games.
The report last year was there was no game coming out this year.
Right.
So continue before I go on my thing.
Yeah. So like like ultimately it's a Call of Duty franchise that's on the shelf, and I haven't seen or heard any sales figures of it, but a lot of people that I know that typically pick up Call of Duty are passing this one.
Yeah. But so this is gonna sound bad. So this is definitely Activision Blizzard's fault. Xbox is probably not happy with how this turns out, but I think if you ask Xbox, they're gonna be like, this is the CMA and the FCC's fault, because the deal was so close to being canceled that Activision Blizzard was like, we were going to skip 2023 because we thought we were being purchased, and this deal almost fell through, so we needed to rush out a game in 2023 in case the deal didn't go through, or we would be fucked. Like, Activision's run in a way that if they're missing their billion-dollar franchise for 1 year, they fall apart. So I have a feeling if you ask any of them, they're going to probably blame the investigations that dragged the deal along, in terms of, like, right when a deal was coming along, when they first announced it, Activision was like, yeah, we're going to skip 2023. Like, because we don't have to worry about it. We have a parent company that's going to take care of us. And we can't get the game out next year. And then as soon as that deal was like iced like 6 or 7 times is when they're like, actually, we are going to do a game in 2023 because we need to shore up our finances in case this deal gets delayed even further, or in case this deal gets just completely canceled. So in the long run, does it hurt their reputation? Hell yes, it does. Like, it also puts a little bit of a more pressure on Xbox that the next Call of Duty game under the Xbox umbrella has to be a hit. It has to be a big thing. And does that mean that maybe 2024 we don't see a Call of Duty game? That's possible. As for Assassin's Creed Mirage, like, I've heard people complain about that, but like, Mirage is like a whole different map, so I don't see how it would be like DLC for like Valhalla, because it's like they built out like a completely different open world. Why it is a smaller Assassin's Creed game, but I think that's just something that like Ubisoft had to do for the fans, because I feel like I've talked to more people that are happy that it's a smaller experience, and I think it was just the series just got too bloated. So I think people are kind of happy with Mirage. Like, you have people that are disappointed it's not this gigantic 100-hour RPG, and you have the people that complain about like hours versus dollars spent, which is always just like a weird argument to get into. And Ubisoft can probably take the hit because there's probably more people happy that it's a smaller experience than people that are angry. But for Call of Duty, there's no excuse. Like, they were already on like a 3-studio rotation to where they should have had a game ready this year, and clearly they didn't. And I don't know if that was because they were like, cool, Xbox is going to take care of us, or if they were just like...
Well, I think it's because they couldn't manage their studios, and that's why they got bought. So,
yeah, so like, I think Xbox saw this
purchased,
coming.
Yeah.
You know, Xbox must have been like, yeah, you don't have anything, it's fine. And then when the deal was going to fall through, potentially, they're like, do what you got to do, because legally we can't tell you not to do this, because
I think at this point in time they need to just embrace the Warzone thing and release multiplayer map packs and just fully go to a full seasonal model, free to play seasonal model, like $15 for every 3 months, and you get 3 new maps every season or something.
Yeah, they would have to. It would just the Call of Duty community is so big, though. If they just cut single player, I think there would be so many people pissed.
Didn't Black Ops do well enough without it? What was the one that had no campaign?
Black Ops 4 or whatever. It did well, but like, there were still people pissed about it. But it could be your point, like my point with Mirage, where more people were happy than pissed off about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just, I think Xbox can't afford for their first Call of Duty game to be the one that cuts single player again.
Yeah.
So they have to be full on like, hey, we're going to have a big single player campaign, and also we're going to have this.
Yeah. And
I think that's when we might finally just see like a consolidation of the Call of Duty studios, of like this three studios running it and like 6 auxiliary studios. We might just see that condensed somewhat. And
you 2 of you work on multiplayer, you work on single player content, and we just release a game every year, 12
because
to 14 months. Yeah.
Just because clearly the rotation had issues where like it sucks for a studio when like the player base is like, fuck, it's a Sledgehammer game, or like, fuck, it's an Infinity Ward game. To where a certain point they have to figure out a way to,
it's Infinity's turn now, I'm skipping this.
And there's got to be like something they can work around on that to avoid. I think
they just need to stop that. Like,
that's what I mean, like a consolidation.
It's just don't even say who makes it. Just Call of Duty from the like Xbox studio, Call of Duty.
Yeah,
like
Activision Blizzard is this. They actually just turned into the Call of Duty company under Xbox.
Well, I'm just saying, don't even call it anything like that. Just Xbox. I don't know. I know that like Ninja Theory carries a big name, and all these other studios that they own carry a big name. But in terms of a franchise like this, just
you honestly
don't even put a studio on it.
You just pick the favorite studio, which seems to be Treyarch now, and you just
leave their logo on.
Yeah,
there,
and it's just like, hey, this is Treyarch. They managed whoever actually worked on it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with you what you're saying about Mirage. If Mirage was supposed to be DLC for Valhalla, is that what it was?
It would have used a bunch of assets from Valhalla.
How much more fucking do you want the game to be?
Yeah, exactly.
How much more bigger do you want the game? Yeah, I think that they don't know really what to do with Assassin's Creed. They're supposed to be doing this hub world thing, and I haven't really seen much more on that. So it'll just be interesting to see Ubisoft's just direction in general here pretty soon, based on the heels of they got Avatar coming next month, and they got Prince of Persia coming after that, and then we don't know. So it'll
Xbox
be
money from that managing the cloud storage or whatever.
Yeah. So. All right, so I think that's it for this week. That's our show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Appreciate you guys being all cool with us taking a week off to just kind of. Yeah, Michael had some stuff going on. I had some stuff going on, and I don't know when we would have actually been able to record with just things, or let alone there was barely any news last week other than the
Last of Us,
the Last of Us thing. Yeah, that was like really the only thing. So. As always, you can check out our socials at Digital Days Pod, at the First MJC, at Good Dave Hunt are each of our handles on Twitter/X. We have the Facebook group, we have the Discord server linked in the show notes, and we have the Patreon tiers as well, with a Spider-Man spoiler cast on either on Patreon or be on Patreon very soon. And then there is intentions of eventually releasing that sooner than later to the public. Because we don't really want to keep that content behind that too long, but we do want to reward the people that do financially compensate us. And kind of our plan for the month of December is obviously the Video Game Awards, and then the week of Christmas and the week of New Year's we'll take off, and then we'll kind of do our I don't remember the cadence we did, our year in review, a year ahead, and a look ahead, and then our game. That kind of sets up the first 3 weeks of January. So like by mid January, you'll probably get hear what we think are the games, great games that we played. That gives Michael and I both opportunities to catch up on some stuff that we want to catch up on, that we bought on sale, or that just needs to be part of the conversation. So, but yeah, that's kind of our plan. So you'll have another 2 or 3 weeks of just hopefully whatever news, game award stuff, or some surprise announcements, and then we'll go away for about a week or two, 14 days, and then we'll come back and we'll kind of look back, look ahead, and our awards. So, I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.